Welcome to episode 253 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I am your host, Dave Ginsburg, and I have got all my favorite friends here on the show this week, and we're just having some amazing fun pre-show, but why not start a show here so we can go have some more fun talking about Apple. My guests this week, I want to welcome back to the show. I'm so glad you're back, Guy Show. How you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me, Dave. I appreciate it. Now with 50% less eyes.
Yes. And we're so glad that you're back with us.
Couldn't see that joke coming.
Back to health.
But that's only because it was on this side.
It was on this side. Yeah. So, and also here.
Too soon?
Too soon. Also here, Kelly Guimont is here. Let's go back on the show. How you doing, Kelly?
I'm having a great time. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're ever gonna get a podcast
We're
out of it.
Gonna get out of it.
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
I will tell you one. I did have a buy me a coffee donor last week, and he's a coworker, works at my company. His name is Phil. Shout out to Phil.
Hi, Phil.
He says he loves your laugh.
Aw,
He said that to me.
what?
I saw that him I saw him in person. He's not even doesn't even work in my office. He told me that, so I thought I'd share that with you because I did mention that.
Phil.
Yeah, so Phil's awesome.
For additional donations, Kelly will laugh even more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
That just made my day. Thanks, Phil.
Yes.
My new name is Steve Kenyon.
Yeah. And last, gosh,
I shouldn't laugh. I'm only going to encourage you.
Probably.
Last but certainly not least, Jeff Gamet is here. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm fine, and I know it's going to be a crazy ride when I'm like the stable voice of reason person in the group.
Yeah.
That's my nice way of saying, Dave, buckle up because you're kind of screwed.
Yeah. That's right. Oh my
Buckle
gosh.
up, Buttercup. It's gonna be that kind of shit.
We miss Ben Rathik. He's in our chat at youtube.com/intouchwithios. Thanks for being here, Ben. I hope you feel better. We miss you.
Touch with LOL.
We miss you on the show here.
I think Ben's not here tonight because the guilt of collaborating with Kelly to pressure me into buying a Nintendo Switch finally made him sick. That's karma right there.
Could have been. So we got some news this week. We're going to go through a few news stories. There was this big announcement. It's going to be a big topic. We're going to save it towards the middle of the show. That was that thing called Final Cut Pro and iPad. I'll leave it at that. And
Now it did get warm in here.
Yes, it did. And then we got some other stuff we'll talk about. But I think between the four of us, we'll have a lot of fun here. So let's go ahead.
We already have.
And already have had pre-show. Yeah. Let's have more fun here. So. First story here is this is a news release that was released by Apple. Apple did release a new Apple Watch Pride Edition to celebrate the LGBTQ plus community. They are celebrating the ongoing movement to protect and advance equality for the LGBTQ plus communities around the world. They've introduced a Pride Edition sport band that accompanies its matching watch face and iOS wallpapers. So. I love to see this kind of stuff that Apple is doing supportive of this community because a lot of struggles with all that, and I think it actually looks kind of cool. I like the coloring and the way the watches and the band matches it nicely too. What do you think, Kelly?
Well, first of all, I will, in the interest of full disclosure, I will point out that I buy the Pride Band every year, except last year because the Sport Loop was a $99 one, and I don't have any the Solo Loop. I don't have any Solo Loops. I haven't found one that felt like it was right on my arm, and so I didn't buy it, and I felt bad about it because it's cool, but it just wasn't for me. So first of all, I have all of them but one, and I love them. I wear them constantly. That's like my go-to is generally that. One of the Pride bands, depending what I'm up to. Maybe it's a Sport Loop, maybe it's the silicone with the rainbow on it. But I think they're great. And the other thing that in fact, mine is charging right now. So here's the one I have that's on it already. So the other thing about this, so I was glad to see that it's back to the $49 for this one, because it means I can buy another one this year. And my first reaction when I saw it was they have those ads with tag team in them for Whoop There It Is.
Yeah.
And all I can, so as soon as I saw that, I just heard them in the back of my mind going, Sprinkles, because it was just really
Sprinkles. That's right where my mind went with it too.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I am 100% here for the big gay sprinkles. And I like my previous iterations of the watch bands. This looks like the silicone, like the sort of plain silicone band that they usually do. And I think they're fun. I like them. And I'm glad that they have them out. And and I thought that one was a nice way to do it without having to be super obvious about, having a big rainbow on it and stuff. Like they're finding ways to mix it up and have it look cool and still be representative. And I thought it was great.
Absolutely. Guy, what do you think? Are you going to buy one?
Unfortunately, no, because, I have an Apple Watch, but unfortunately, about 99% of the bands that you can buy from Apple don't fit around my like King Kong sized wrists. So I normally have to go to Amazon and get the kind that kind of like open up and then snap shut together. Cause those are because those are pretty much the only ones I can wear. So, it's a conspiracy against people that are abnormally big, I think is what that is.
Well, not being a standard issue adult size human, much like me, sometimes it's hard to find a watch band that fits you.
Yeah.
We're just at opposite ends of the standard issue adult size spectrum.
You got the tiny wrist. I've got the freaky big.
I'm up there too. So.
Yeah. But.
Get a leather punch. Get a leather punch and start making my own holes. I'll just add this piece of leather to that. Okay, good.
And Jeff's head exploded.
Sorry about that. I was going to make a joke about my eyes popped out, but that would be really bad taste. I'm sorry.
Probably.
Too soon.
Too soon.
Any thoughts, Jeff, before we move on to this story?
I love the Apple Watch Band Sprinkles Edition and the fact that it also supports the LGBTQ plus community. I'm all in. It's what's killing me is it's not on the store yet, so I can't order it.
Right.
I actually had to put a reminder in OmniFocus to remind me to order the watch band on, what is it, the 23rd?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. Here's a good reason why we all like Carrot as our weather app here. Apple's weather not working for some users, third time in a month, and this happened this past week as we record this. Apple did see two different major outages in April. Now the app appears to be downing for some people this week, and they don't know how. It's very unclear how widespread the issue was, but there were more reports popping up all over social media. And then 10 a.m. Pacific time, that this was on the 9th of May, Apple acknowledged downtime in the system status page. The weather may be slow or unavailable for some users. And then at 6:15 a.m., they said that when keeping the Apple Weather app open for a few minutes after it initially fails to load, it starts working for some users. All right. So I'm not kind of surprised that this is kind of something that Apple's not been doing a very good job with, especially the way they sunsetted Dark Sky. Gosh darn them. Right, Jeff?
I think that's part of the reason people are so upset about it.
Yeah.
Because you took away the one I was using that was super reliable and useful, and now you're
give me nothing but crap.
Yeah, now like you've actively made it worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you manage that? I stand by what I have said in the past, which is that when Apple bought Dark Sky, what they should have done is left it alone,
right?
Except to rebrand the name and call it Apple Weather, ditch all the old Apple Weather, and Dark Sky is just called Apple Weather now, and you're done. Mm-hmm. But no, they did this.
No, we need to mess with it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They had to mess with it. They had to mess with it. So.
The Carrot Weather people should send Apple a fruit basket.
I was going to say, I wonder if Brian has sent them a fruit basket.
Yeah, they should.
Meat bags. I had realized it, if I had realized it at the time, I would have opened Carrot Weather to see what kind of smack it was talking about Apple Weather.
Yeah, that Ben in the chat says Apple did the impossible: make Dark Sky not work right.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah, I agree with that, Ben. Next story here: the former head of iCloud is going to be in charge of making GM's EV software without CarPlay. Here's a twist on an ongoing story between GM and CarPlay. General Motors has hired Mike Abbott to run the software team, the company announced this week. It's the same Mike Abbott who just left Apple after spending 5 years in charge of iCloud software. Abbott's role at Apple include leadership over the iCloud service infrastructure, including iMessage and FaceTime. At GM, Abbott will serve as the executive vice president of software and reporting directly to the CEO, Mary Barra. And they go on and on about how great this is and all this. And so, is this like a ploy for him to say, "Hey, the heck with you, Apple. We're not going to use CarPlay anymore. I'm going to make a great product on a GM vehicle, right? Right, guy."
Well, it kind of just tells me that there's yet another reason to not buy a GM product.
Yeah, exactly.
The last car that I bought, which was a Kia Soul, it was like when I was looking at all the various cars that were available to buy, it was like I have one priority, which is I'm not going to buy a car that doesn't have CarPlay. I have yet to see a reason as to why I should change that. So I'm looking to get another car with some various other features that I need. But if it doesn't have CarPlay, you know what? I'll stick with my 2016 Kia Soul. Thank you.
Yeah. Kelly?
I thought this was kind of nervy on their part because now, like, the headline was, GM gives CarPlay the middle finger. And, because people are totally going to pony up for a subscription for whatever kind of nonsense we can feed them. And now what I'm hearing is, what if CarPlay with a monthly fee? And that doesn't sound any better. So, I'm still not interested. Like, I had forgotten that was like a thing that GM was having a hissy fit about CarPlay. And they just reminded me, oh, by the way, in case you forgot, don't buy a GM car. Like, that's my takeaway from this headline. Yeah. Remember the thing we were doing that you thought was kind of a jerky move? We've doubled down on that jerky move. Thanks. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I'm actually like, I'm not interested in it as a purchasing decision, but I am very, very curious what it is that GM thinks they're going to do that's going to be better than CarPlay.
Or Android Auto.
Yeah.
Oh, especially our Android Auto. Android Auto was first, and it was, when it came out, there has been a lot of evolution because it's been a long time, but when it first came out, it was fantastic, and Android Auto is really good. Like, I haven't spent a whole lot of time with it. I also haven't spent a whole lot of time with CarPlay, but both of them are solid. They're you cannot go wrong with the OS that comes from the same people that make your operating system on your phone. Like, they're both good choices.
And the absolute best part is that it doesn't matter what car you get into. If it's connected to your phone, it looks exactly the same.
Yep.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew what to do. Like, I had a rental car recently, plugged in the cable, and everything was there just like it was supposed to be. Everything was fine. There was no, there was no like, let's pair it and, let me spend 10 minutes in the parking lot making sure everything works like it's supposed to before I pull out. No, plug in the cable, on the way. It was a piece of cake. It was so good. And yeah, and this is just sort of, like the Ford nonsense that they peddled for a while. Was it Ford that did the BlackBerry one?
Yes.
I think.
I forgot about that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't that with Microsoft as well? Microsoft Sync.
Ford Sync. Yep.
Yeah. Which was just awful.
I have a lot of words for my opinion of that, and I'm not going to use any of them because I don't want to make David have to edit. But that should tell you all you know about, because my dad had a Ford when that came out, and so and was like, I can't get my phone to connect to it. Can you help me? And I tried, and I'm like, actually no, I can't get mine connected to it either, and that's really irritating. And I'm tired of having to figure out the secret password to do the dance to get the car to do what it's supposed to do with your phone, no matter what. I drive an Outback, and every time I get a new phone, the Outback hates my phone in a new and different way. And it's really frustrating, and I can't do anything about it because it's not it's not like there's software updates for the Bluetooth interface in the car.
Yeah.
So it's not a great experience. And so whatever I get next is going to have CarPlay in some form or another. And it's non-negotiable. It's table stakes at this point on an automobile for me, because that's just ludicrous. And so thank you, GM, for reminding me that you are not on the list when I go car shopping.
Yeah.
Yeah, if only there were other car companies that you could buy from. If only.
Well, Jeff, you gotta get in here because I know you have thoughts.
I think for GM, this is more of an FU than it is for what's his name? I've already forgotten his name because he moved on. So why do I need to remember?
The CarPlay guy?
The CarPlay guy. Yeah. And I think that for him, it was more of GM probably approached him and said, hey, we'd like to offer you a lot of money, and this is what we're doing. Does this sound like an interesting thing? And he's just saying 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And he says yes, and off he goes. And that's that. Also, I want to point out that Kelly says she drives an Outback. I drive a Prius. We each have the stereotype car for the city we live in.
Well,
there's a whole lot of Prius happening here too.
Yeah,
there's a whole lot of Subaru Outback happening here too.
I'm unsurprised.
Countrywide. A couple more comments from Ben. He said he'll be fired with Mary in a year. That Mike Abbott. And then he also says Ford will be sending GM a Detroit-sized fruit basket.
Yeah.
And shout out to Web Bixby is in the chat. How you doing, Web? Good to see you. He says it must be that clean Iowa air for Ben. So let's go on next story here. This is another CarPlay story. Actually, a cool CarPlay story. Instapaper, which we all love, to be able to read articles and put all our articles in one place. That's that popular read it later service is now going to be available in CarPlay. You might be wondering, okay, a reading-focused app that translates to CarPlay, but it comes down to it being a text-to-speech technology. So in a blog post this past Friday, before we record this, Instapaper touted that the new CarPlay app was about the new CarPlay app, and they explained that the app lets you view a list of saved articles, and then you can tap one of them, and then it will automatically start reading the article using Instapaper's text-to-speech technology. It's going to be available to free and premium Instapaper users, which is interesting. The paid subscribers will also be able to get access to creating playlists with the premium Instapaper. It automatically creates that playlist and lets you listen to articles and one after the other, which is great. Okay. And we want to support great services. Instapaper is a really good service. Use that, Jeff. What do you think?
I use Instapaper every single day.
Yeah.
When I got the pop-up, when I opened Instapaper on my iPhone after the update installed, the pop-up, it says, hey, we can do CarPlay now. My first thought was, why do I want to be looking at my screen reading articles while I'm driving? And then I figured out what it was. I'm like, oh, that's actually kind of cool. Queue up a bunch of interesting articles that you want to read while you're doing the drive across town or across country, whatever, and let Instapaper just read all that stuff to you. That's kind of cool.
Yeah. I like it.
What do you think, Kelly?
I'm glad of it. I'm looking forward to it. I hope the voice is pleasant to listen to. I'm sure they've done a lot to make sure that it's kind of optimized, that everybody can, hear it okay and everything. But I'm happy to hear it, because it would be nice to have that kind of opportunity if I have time in the car for something like that. If I'm not working on a karaoke song, then it'd be nice to listen to my stuff from Instapaper and get through my queue.
Use this guy? Do you use Instapaper?
Sometimes, as long as the voice that's reading it is like one of the guys from the Beastie Boys, then yeah, I'm all in with it. I think that's a great idea. Make sure, and word of the wise, everyone, set up your playlists and what articles you wanted to read before you get behind the wheel of the car. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh yeah, good call.
Yeah, don't be one of them. Okay, please. Don't be that guy.
Don't be that person. So yeah, Good stuff. And other two heartwarming stories that involved AirTag and Apple Watch. AirTag was credited for helping investigators locate over $1.1 million in cash stolen from an armored truck. The AirTag item tracker, once again in the news, whereas this time for its role in helping investigators track down two brothers accused of stealing over $1.1 million from a Brinks armored truck robbery. Court documents had revealed that the AirTag was hidden in one of the bins of money. I love it. And two brothers were initially charged for their role in the robbery last December. The two are accused of stealing over $1 million from an armored truck and an automatic teller machine in Chicago on Halloween. So the U.S. attorney has announced what happened and the details of the robbery, and they go through the whole test of this. So this is another testament of how valuable the AirTags are, and having not only finding your keys and your devices, it's good for things just like Jeff found one on the ground, and I'm sure it still hasn't got to its owner yet.
No, they still haven't flipped the switch on their phone so that it's reported lost.
Yep. So
it's sitting on a table by my door, just waiting for me to be able to get it back to its owner.
Waiting for the phone to ring.
Yeah.
Like on prom night.
I like these.
God, it's like you're here.
I know.
I like these kind of stories. Which, guys, I think it's just something that
I like it.
It's
even worse. They got charged with stealing an AirTag.
That too. So yeah,
the thing I'm curious about is what prompted somebody to put an AirTag in the bin.
Yeah, it doesn't. It
doesn't. Like, did they just start normally doing that so they could make sure the money was getting to where it was going? Like, I just was like, that was the thing I wondered.
As opposed to using the tracking systems that they already had.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like a Brinks truck probably has some sort of telemetry.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I don't think I'm going out on any kind of flimsy limb to say that. Like, the
thing is,
that's a limb the size of a Kia. Like, there's no.
They took the bin, so that means that the AirTag went with the bin. So
right, but something prompted someone to go, I'm gonna go draw some money on some AirTags and stick them in the bins and see what happens. And I was just wondering what would have prompted that. That's all.
Yeah,
and obviously neither of these brothers use an iPhone, or it would have told them that there was an AirTag in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's why they needed the money.
And there's that
to buy an iPhone.
To buy iPhone 15.
Okay, well then they're totally justified in stealing all that money.
There you go.
There you go.
And then another story involving an Apple Watch. We hear these stories almost seems like daily. Apple Watch helped save a woman's life after collapsing in a hotel room from a ruptured aorta. Oof. Ooh.
Oh my God.
A user on Reddit had shared an incredible story on how Apple Watch helped save their mom's life. According to Reddit, the user said that their mom was on a business trip staying at a hotel and she started to feel a pain in her chest. She texted a friend who was in the same hotel, and shortly after that, she collapsed to the floor face first. So the friend arrived at the room, found her collapsed, and they immediately called 911. To the surprise, they told her the ambulance was already on the way because she fell, and the Apple Watch also called 911. Those extra minutes that were saved by the Apple Watch saved her life. So this is such a amazing story, and I love hearing this stuff. And more reason. I'm trying to get my mom to get an Apple Watch. She's just being very stubborn about it, but because she always has that trouble, I want her to listen to this sound to find her phone, because she's always losing it. But that's one of the reasons, but this is probably one of the more primary reasons, right, Jeff?
Yes. My parents both have Apple Watches, and they love having the watches. But I think I appreciate them having the watches more than they do, because the peace of mind that I get knowing that they both have their Apple Watch and I'm set up as the emergency contact.
Yep.
It's just great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Any thoughts, Kelly, your guy?
Well, I accidentally set it off once and hadn't realized that I had, and I started getting calls from both my kids and my wife going, "Are you okay?" And it's like, "No, I'm fine. What's the problem?"
Yeah.
Of course, the problem with that is if it happens again and I'm actually laid out on the floor, they'll be like, "Oh, Dad didn't take his watch off again."
Push the button on the thing.
Yeah, should have done that thing instead of doing that other thing.
A thing of that thing. So
Yeah.
That's the thing about it.
that is good one. Last story, Shazam. We like Shazam, don't we? Shazam was updated to now support Apple Music Classical. Shazam did get updated to support that on the iPhone, allowing the two apps to work together for classical music. This was launched in March, so it's been almost 2 months now for a classical app, and with over 5 million classic music tracks. And they say now you can open classical songs, and Shazam will bring it right into the Apple Music classical app.
Nice.
Cool.
And I don't know. I'm not much of a classical music listener, but I think I know, Jeff. I think you like to listen a little bit.
I listen to a lot of classical music, so I'm glad that there's now the Shazam integration with Apple Music Classical. Maybe it will get me to use Apple Music Classical more. Putting it on my iPhone, it's like this is not where I need the app. I need it on my Mac where I have the big setup with the right speakers and an external DAC and all that. But that's a different topic. The point being, Shazam is integrating now, and that's really good because the whole Shazamming with classical music has just straight up sucked until now.
Yep.
Indeed.
All right. I think that's what about sums it up. Thanks, guys. And let's go ahead and move on to topics this week. Beta this week, as we always talk about on this show, Apple did confirm that iOS 16.5 will be released the following week, next week. That's going to be on Monday, I believe. They usually are Monday or Tuesday. They tend to release the new releases. In accordance with the Pride Edition ban we talked about, they also confirmed this as well, that 16.5 on iOS and Watch OS 9.5 will be released to the public next week. The software has been in updates since late March. And this is good stuff. I'm glad to see that this, and then they kind of coordinated this with the Pride we talked about earlier. The new sports tab in Apple News, which is cool, and number of other great things that were added to it in here. Not a huge ton of changes. Jeff, have you noticed anything in iPad with beta and this go around? We're in the release candidate now for those who are taking score here.
Yeah, I have the RC installed on my sacrificial iPad, and I'm not seeing any differences between that and the previous version. So at this point, to me, that's actually a good sign.
Yeah. So don't think Guy or Kelly, are you doing any beta testing?
No.
So
No.
WatchOS 9.5 is a release candidate as well. Not a lot of big changes have been noticed in the WatchOS, but they did add the simplified beta installation method that was first introduced in 16.4, so developers can really do much easily enroll with the watch. It always was a challenge. I don't do that. I stay away from them. I don't have a watch to be doing that, so I avoid that one. But that is out.
Call down that path leads to madness.
I think somebody who used to be on the show did that and bricked an Apple Watch. So I don't want anybody else to be experiencing that.
There be dragons. Yes.
tvOS 16.5 is out, and I know they did add the new thing with the sports view where you can watch four shows four sporting events at once. I'm just going to see. I did beta test that on one of my spare Apple TVs. It was really cool. So we're hoping to see any other changes to tvOS. I don't see much, but so that's usually.
I want that four-way split thing.
We talk about Star Wars
sports.
Yeah, Star Wars movies.
Yeah. I want to watch Star Wars, Magnificent Seven, and Seven Samurai at the same time because they're all basically the same movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I want to have Dark Side of the Moon and Wizard of Oz right next to each other.
Right.
Oh, right.
See, the opportunities for awesomeness and chemical interaction, endless.
Endless.
Or just do the chemical interaction. Cut out the middleman.
Yep. Yeah. So I saved the best story for, and really as a topic this week, because I think all of us are very excited about this. Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro are now going to be on the iPad. Hell did freeze over. It's going to be with a subscription model, so that's kind of the little bit of the caveat. But they did announce this on Tuesday as we record this on May 9th. Apple did say that it'll feature an all-new touch interface and take advantage of the multi-touch on the iPad. And just to quote what Apple had said in their press release, Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro for the iPad will bring all new touch interfaces that allows users to enhance their workflows with the immediacy and intuitiveness of multi-touch. Final Cut Pro for iPad will have a powerful set of tools for video creators to record, edit, finish, and share, and all that stuff. They have a teaser video that's out there that I've got linked in the show notes. It's both pieces of software for the iPad are going to be each available for $4.99 per month each, or $49.99 per year, with a 1 month free trial, which I think that's awesome. We'll all be able to try it for a month and see what we like about it. A little bit of difference here as far as compatibility. The Final Cut Pro is going to require an iPad Pro with an M1 chip or newer. So you won't be able to go below an M1 chip, which I have an M1 on my iPad, so I'm excited to try it. And then the Logic Pro will only need like an A12 Bionic iPad or newer, so you might be okay with that as far as that goes. And May 23rd is when it's going to be available in the App Store. I know people are going to be just downloading this like in droves. It does feature a lot of new features, including machine learning for scene removal mask, quick removal of replacing backgrounds without using a green screen. That's kind of cool. Auto cropping and adjustment of footage and all kinds of stuff with aspect ratios. And Jeff, you've had a few days to take a look at some of the announcements. You're a big Luma Fusion user. What do you think? I know you're going to at least want to try it out. We'll get the trial, see what it does in comparison. What do you think so far? What the Apple has announced?
I'm actually really excited about this, even though I'm not going to be a Final Cut Pro on iPad user, because I am fully and quite happily invested in Luma Fusion.
Yep.
But this is great for mobile editors, and the other part of it that I think made this a necessity is that there's been so much discussion about if the iPad Pro is actually a Pro device, where's Apple's Pro software for it? So having Final Cut Pro and Logic Pro available on the iPad is a very overt move on Apple's part to show that, yes, they are looking at the iPad Pro as a professional content creation device.
Yep. Is this something you're going to try out, Kelly?
No, because I don't really edit video for anything. And the audio that I do edit, I use Ferrite, and I'm very happy with Ferrite.
I was going to ask you about that in a minute here about Logic. Yeah.
On the iPad. However, I think this is good not just for creators, but I think it's good for everybody, because what this means is that Apple is taking the platform seriously, and Apple now believes in this as a weapons grade device for people to use to do what they need to do. And it hasn't felt that way for a long time. Like it's very, it was such an important thing that we got iPad OS, which is separate from the one that runs on your phone.
Right.
And yet we're still not getting anything out of it that's like, let me do what I want to be, let me do what I want to do. And I'm not trying to do anything super weird or super specific or super complex or anything. But even still, a lot of times with my M1 iPad Pro, it will fall short. And so finding out that Apple apparently thinks that I can do professional level audio editing and professional level video editing with this little guy tells me that somebody there finally took it seriously and finally believes in a machine with Apple Silicon in it, believes in a machine with that much, that many cores, that much memory, the hardware profile they've got on it, the screen they've got on it, if they think they can do video editing with it and all of that, because they have to presume not everybody's going to hook their iPad up to one of those studio displays in order to do the video edits that they're doing. So I think this is good for everybody because it only means that, other weapons grade applications are going to come to it and people are going to be able to do even more with one of these devices. And that's what I've been waiting for forever. And so I'm really glad to see that Apple finally found the potential in that machine that some of us saw the first time we looked at it.
Yeah. Guy, you're a big Davinci Resolve user. Is this something you look
actually,
at?
I've been using CapCut.
Oh, that's right. You switched CapCut. Right.
Video editing. It's just for what I needed for, with maybe 2-3 tracks for video. It's just easier to use, and they've had a couple of updates that's made it even better. My problem with Final Cut Pro on the iPad, because I have an iPad Pro, but I don't have the M1, so
right.
I'm kind of locked out on that. I am interested in trying Logic Pro on the iPad, so I am going to download that and give it a try, but I don't know if even if I like it, I don't know if I would get Logic Pro for the Mac, since I'm pretty happy with Hindenburg Journalist Pro, and I'm already paying a subscription for that. So
sure.
There's a lot about Hindenburg. I mean, there was a reason why I went to Hindenburg in the first place instead of going to Logic Pro.
There's a lot of reasons why a lot of people have done exactly what you did.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Hindenburg is like amazing. And the fact that so many different, what's the word I'm looking for? Logic Pro and other bits of software like that. Audio workspace.
The DAWs, digital audio workspace.
Yeah, thank you. For some reason, I was blanking on that. With most DAWs, you can only select one source for input, and Hindenburg, anything that you've got on your Mac, you can use as an input, and it's so great. So I would have a hard time switching to a different one at this point, even if it was Logic Pro.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what form it's going to take on the iPad, because after they overhauled GarageBand, it became a lot less
functional.
Yeah.
Not function. Well, it's not that it doesn't function. It's that if you're not using it for music specifically, then it's kind of a pain in the neck. We'll go with neck. It's kind of a pain in the neck. And that's been the case. And Logic is similarly only mostly equipped for doing something that's not music, like, I don't know, a podcast. And that's where Ferrite comes in handy for me, because like it turns out to be something that like I can grok. I can look at it, I can see how things fit together, and I can do what I want to do. And I'm literally doing it with my hands. I'm dragging things around, and I'm able to turn something into a show when I have to do audio editing. And so that's what I'm going to be curious about, is if it's going to come with the knowledge that maybe what you're doing isn't necessarily music and might be an attractive option for people who are editing podcasts. That's the thing I want to find out most of all, is if this new mobile interface is going to come with tools for people who are just recording people talking to other people, and there's not necessarily a sax solo in the middle.
Right. Let me come back. Let me come back to Logic Pro real quick. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to interrupt. Let me come back to Logic Pro for a moment here. I just wanted to hit a couple of caveats with we're finding out from Final Cut Pro. Third-party app support or third-party plugins are not supported upon launch, so you're going to have to wait on that. Some creators are not too terribly excited about that, because they do have a lot of plugins and add-ins that they use, but something could come soon.
It's Gen 1.
Yeah, it's Gen 1, right. You can't expect
there are no plugins. There
no,
will
they said
never be
coming.
plugins.
They said coming
just
soon.
Said not now.
Coming soon.
Right.
The other thing,
not now is a lot nicer than not ever. So,
and the other thing too is people who have been used to doing Final Cut on their Mac, you can go to the Mac, but you can't go back. So you're going to be very limited as far as you can't go back and forth between a Mac and the iPad when you're doing any production.
I hope that's a 1.0 feature too.
I hope they really look at that because there's going to be a ton of people, and who knows, they may revamp the Mac version and look for a subscription there. It's very possible. So that's a big kind of bummer. So you're really looking at some of these features that they're changing with it, and it's going to be interesting to see where those things go when you're creating up these projects. So. But to go back to Logic Pro, I was definitely interested to hear what you thought as far as what the Ferrite is. But it looks like they've got some good features in Logic Pro. I didn't. I'm a GarageBand user. I edit this podcast with GarageBand. It's been working okay for me. Interesting to see where this goes. What and how this is. It really is a cool app. I've played around with Logic Pro in the past. It's a lot of musicians use this, and our friend Dave Hamilton, I know, he uses Logic Pro a lot. And so again, it's I think it's going to be limited as far as the round trip capabilities and that as well.
Sure.
But everybody's going to see where that goes. Again, it looks like Logic Pro for the iPad will also support the ability to open GarageBand projects, because GarageBand was pretty popular editing on the iPad. So now you're going to have this really advanced tool when it comes to editing all that. So, but again, that will be released at the same dates. It'll be $499 and $49.99 for the year. It looks like with the Logic Pro compatibility, you're going to be able to do it on an iPad Mini or a 5th gen or later, iPad 7th gen or later, iPad Air 3rd gen or later. So it's really opening up. So because audio isn't going to need as much of hardcore processing power as video editing does. So even the Pro can go from 2018 or later as well. So, but you got to have 16.4 in order for it to do it. They've added a bunch of things, including an all new sound browser, professional effects and instruments, and a lot of other stuff. But we'll definitely be talking a lot more about this, where that goes. But again, you're a big Ferrite user, Kelly. I think a lot of people like that. I have it. I have been so bad not trying to take some time to learn it and see if it could work in my workflow. But at least I know
just for audio like this, like straight up audio, that like what we're doing. I would imagine that it probably would work very well for that. Part of the reason I liked it was the portability. Like wherever I was, I'm gonna passenge for an hour in the car. I can just take my headphones and edit, the whole time that I'm doing that. And I like the visual of it. Ferrite has updated recently to version 3. I also like their pricing model because it's not a subscription or anything.
Right.
But when you buy it, you can, I think it's $5 for like the paid version. And then if you want to edit, if your project is more than an hour long, then, if you're going to edit a chunk of audio that's more than an hour long, then it's like $20 and then you're done.
It's a one-time fee, right? I think I paid that.
One-time fee.
I did pay for that. I think I paid the $20.
Yeah. Well, you have me on your show, so that's a smart decision. And it was and I really like it. I tried Audacity and had such a hard time with it. I tried a couple of other things on the Mac. I tried to use GarageBand post overhaul, and it was very square peg round hole. It just really felt like I was trying to talk to somebody who had a very, very thick accent, and we just couldn't quite understand each other. And so it was really hard to use, and it just made it, and like, I don't feel like I'm a very good editor anyway. And so on top of the software feeling like it was really hard, it just sucked rocks. So Ferrite makes sense. I can understand, I can see what's going on. It's very clear what I'm doing. You can use the Apple Pencil and haul your audio clips around and stuff. And it really is just a very straightforward editor to me. It makes a lot of sense. You can program some little shortcuts and stuff, and I like it a lot. So thank you, Woojie Juice, for making it possible, because literally, if it were not for Ferrite being a thing that existed, I don't know that Don Melton and I would have been able to do the Westworld podcast, because he's not an editor, and I had to become one in order for us to have that show. And in order to do that, I needed Ferrite to make that happen. So if anyone is glad that there was the Don Melton and I did a podcast about Westworld, you have Woojie Juice to thank for that, because if it weren't for them,
or to blame,
I don't know. I don't know
Or to
what we would have
blame.
done. You
Yeah.
can also absolutely hold them responsible if that's if you so desire. We had nothing to do with the show. We just talked about it a lot.
Yeah.
So don't blame me for the last season of Westworld. I had nothing to do with what actually happened. All we did was talk about it. But yeah, if it weren't for Ferrite, I wouldn't have been able to do any of that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we're looking forward to them. I think Apple was smart to dive in, and they surprised us all because we've been talking about this probably for years that we wanted these apps on.
And it certainly took long enough.
Yeah, especially once the M series chips made it to mobile devices, the iPad
That's
at
it.
least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is. There was absolutely no reason. So
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. So good stuff. Glad we get some good insight on that, and it's definitely something to look forward to here. So, the other topics I wanted to hit a little bit here is this was an interesting topic here. This was an article in Macworld here. As it turns out, the iPhone is actually a bargain compared to Android phones. And I like this was the Macalope, so he's always got some good stuff in Macworld here. The first sentence here is cue the classic Barry Manilow hit. Looks like we made it because it looks like Apple's got to make it. I'm not surprised to see this because Android devices can cost the same, if not more, than an iPhone. Granted, Google just came out with the Pixel 7a. I believe that pricing is starting at $499. So their lower end Pixels have been really, really low end. But of course, you can.
That's what the A is. It's always the kind of budget friendlier model, and it looks like a solid phone. And they did. I was going to ask you if we were going to talk about it because they also said when this came out that they are guaranteeing security updates for 5 years.
Yeah, so that stinks. I have the old 2XL, and that thing's just basically a brick now. I can't do anything with that anymore. Just sad.
Yeah, well, we'll see if they keep that promise.
Yeah, exactly. Because they seem to pull
security.
Yeah.
They didn't say OS. They just said security. So it's
still
going to run like 3 versions of Android OS probably. But I was glad to see that they were coming out with that commitment right out of the gate, just because it can be really hard to do that. Like one of the things when I have to recommend mobile devices at work, one of the reasons I recommend the Google ones is because you're getting it straight from the people who make the software. And that just makes it easier from an administrative standpoint. Like I don't want to have to worry about what are the hoops you have to jump through if you buy a Samsung one. And if you buy this Samsung one or that Samsung one, and if it starts with an S, then it's a different thing than if you buy the Note, than if you buy whatever Samsung they just came out with. It doesn't matter when you listen to this, Samsung just came out with a new phone. And it gets confusing and weird, and they wrap Android in all of their own stuff, and then you have to try and figure that out too, and it's really hard. And so especially from an enterprise standpoint, the Google phones make a lot of sense, because then if you manage them in Google Workspace, then it's a one-stop shop. Like someone in Mountain View, this is your problem. I don't know which one of you it is, but I know where to go to find out. And that just makes it a lot more straightforward. So I was glad to see that they at least committed to security updates, because it means it's better for everybody. Like, go get your 7A, and you can at least make sure that your phone is secure if you're running the updates for 5 solid years. And that's a good idea. But yeah, all the other phones are still neck and neck with Apple pricing, even though they're Android phone, which is
the premium ones anyway.
Yeah.
So for those of you,
you can pick up $150 Android phone that'll run the latest version of Android, but it's not going to run it well. It's not going to run it well. Good luck getting updates, and the screen is going to be a piece of garbage.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if that's what you want in a phone, hey, go for it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Jeff, you have any thoughts on this?
I think everyone's done a great job of expressing my thoughts on this. And yet I'm still going to add something.
Good.
I know, shocker. The low end Android phones that guy was just mentioning, there's absolutely a market for that. And and if that's what you need in a phone, great. I'm glad there's a market for you. Yeah. When you look at the more premium phones, the better quality phones, where you're actually comparing Android phones to Apple phones on the same level. Yeah. I mean, the price that you're going to pay,
It's still a 4-digit number.
it's yes. Yeah. And then if you look at how long you can potentially use the iPhone versus the Android phone and break it down to cost per year, you're paying less for an iPhone. Plus, you know that you're going to have updates for, if you're a premium phone buyer, for as long as you own the phone. And even if you're buying a top of the line a Google Pixel, whatever, 2 years. And then after that, maybe some security updates.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a reason why the iPhone is the big name in used phone sales.
Oh, we talked about that. I think last week, the week before. About that.
2 weeks ago. I was on.
That's right, 2 weeks ago. They're selling. They're selling like crazy, and the used iPhone market is just a big bomb right now. That's what people want. They want to buy the used iPhones, and there's such a secondary market because the full ride on a new phone is $1,000+ and if you buy it outright. So definitely an interesting thing here. So
yeah, there's nothing wrong with iPhone 11, 12s, and 13s.
Nope, not at all. Couple security tips I wanted to talk about here real quick. How can you check your microphone usage on your iPhone? There are ways to do it. You can actually go in and use privacy settings to check your microphone usage history to see if anybody has gained access to it. The way you do that is you go into the settings app and you go under privacy and security option. Then you go under microphone. Every app that requested the access to the mic is listed on the screen. You toggle between any of the apps if it's green, and it means that they can access the microphone. Besides that, then you can actually go in and actually check to see when the mic is being used at the very top over by on the right hand side of the top column of an iPhone, and it'll tell you if that app is actually using that microphone. And it's kind of crazy that why people need access to your microphone, all these different apps. And I found this to be interesting to see. In the article, this is on Mac Observer, Gmail, Slack, Telegram, WhatsApp, and YouTube show the potential usage of the microphone, and the privacy can actually allow you to be able to turn it off, so people don't, these apps aren't using the mic if you don't want them to. So, if you guys knew that,
Yep.
Yep. I check on a regular basis just to make sure there's no surprises.
Yeah. The other thing,
I do go look at stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So I thought it'd be a good tip. That was a good tip. And then lastly, the other one I want to touch real quick is Apple ID was being protected with security keys. Apple didn't introduce security keys as that additional step to help protect the Apple ID accounts. With all the talk we've been talking about the last few weeks about people getting their phones stolen and their identity stolen and the loss of access to their Apple ID and not being able to get their photos forever because they didn't have them backed up and that whole thing. This is a really good thing to have this. What this is going to do is when you have the security key enabled, signing into an Apple ID is going to require that you enter the account's password and then use a security key to complete the two-factor authentication process instead of a traditional 6-digit verification code, which was one of the biggest things why these people with social engineering, people watch how you type in your PIN, they can see it, and then they steal your phone, and there, voila, you're in there. It is an extra pain for security, but it does have its pluses to protect you from this. We've also talked about things like YubiKeys. You could have that too. They have YubiKeys out there that have Lightning as well as USB plugs on the end of them. You can use that, but that's a whole nother thing. You lose that YubiKey, then you're going to go through a little bit of a headache to try to get access when you have that. So one of the things you can't do with security keys is you can't sign into iCloud for Windows. What a shame.
So many people are doing that now.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually do that sometimes at work on my Windows work computer. I'll sign into iCloud from there.
Okay. You can sign in, but you can't protect it if you're going to use security keys.
But you can never leave. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, you can never leave. You can never leave. Security keys also, you can't sign into older devices that can't be updated to the software version that supports security keys, which in this case is 16.3 and higher. And security keys don't support child accounts or managed Apple IDs. So do you have a thought on that, Kelly?
My primary thought in all of this is, wow, that's really great. Why won't you let me use an external authenticator app for my Apple ID?
Yeah.
Why? Why do you always send me a notification to the device that I'm using to get me to approve the device that I'm using?
With a code.
Why? Yeah. I find it frustrating. And for a company that likes to talk the talk when it comes to security, they're still making me send an SMS code a fair amount of the time. Like if I'm logging into something for like an Apple Business Manager account or something, as part of my day job, they have to send a text to the phone number on file for the account. Won't let me use an authenticator app. Won't let, Google Authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator, Authy, take your pick. They won't let me set that up with a rolling 6-digit code, the TOTP, time-based one-time password, so that I can just use that, so that I can integrate it with a password manager and just have a long, weird password and let it negotiate the 6 digits and let me sign in. No, they won't do any of that. And I find it endlessly frustrating every time I have to go through this stupid dance to have to get an SMS message from Apple.
Yes.
Why are you doing this? Why won't you just let me have TOTP set up in someplace else and let me move on with my life? It is so much easier and it's so much more secure. David and I both know this. We're both, I'm preaching to the choir here. I know that, but
Enterprise.
I find it really frustrating that we're secure and your messages are end-to-end encrypted, but we're totally going to text you in order to get into your account every time. And I shout profanity about it every time. And I have filed feedback before anybody asks. I have filed feedback on this because I find it aggravating and I want it to be better than it is. And every time something pops up on the device I'm using and says somebody's trying to on my iPad, and it says someone's trying to sign in with your iPad, you cool with that? Like, come on, son. It's endlessly aggravating.
Yep.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts before we bring us close to a close here? Before
Kelly nailed it.
She did nail it. That's why I let that go to closing that out. Before we close out, though, I want to make sure I tell everybody, as we've been telling every week, is MacStock 7 is here. Tickets are available if you go to MacStock conferenceandexpo.com. Come check out this conference. We love it. I've spoke of the 7 years that they've had it in person. This will be my 7th year, and all of us have been there, and we all love this show. Jeff Gamet is speaking, and Brittany Smith is going to be speaking for the very first time at MacStock. I'm looking forward to that.
So excited.
Chuck Joyner is going to be there, of course. Allison Sheridan, and so many other great speakers. We're going to have a lot of fun. It's a great conference. It's in Woodstock, Illinois, which is outside of Chicago. Please join us. It's going to be on July 22nd, 23rd. I got a link to the event and get some tickets as well as the speakers list. If you happen to be listening, and there's also going to be a pre-party show at Barry Folk's house at the Midwest Mac Barbecue at his home. He had that at the very first MacStock, and he's going to do it again. He's going to come back into town, and we're going to get together with all our friends and come in a little early and have some great barbecue. I think he's doing a wine tasting too. So you'll also have.
That's what I have heard.
Yes, I'm not shocked at all, Mister. He is the wine connoisseur. So, you can also go
the home with the amazing faucets.
He loves I know Guy loves those faucets.
I do.
So go. There's also a link to that, and you can just sign up. Say how you know him or MacStock, and he'll let you in. He'll just put you on the guest list. So come check that out as well. But again, MacStock conferenceandexpo.com is the site. MacStock 7. It's going to be July 22nd, 23rd, and we're going to have a blast. So come see us. With that, let's go ahead and wrap the show up for this week. And that's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios, as well as on Mastodon @intouchwithios. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We'd really appreciate it. You You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios, where we have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe, like Guy always does with his fingers. To be able to know when we're doing the show, which is on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. And that's at our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios, where we leave the live show up so you can watch the pre-show antics as well as the show on video.
We had
a plenty of them this week to watch, so go check that out. As well as we also post all the audio versions of our show, and you can listen on YouTube. So go check that out. And we also have In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we have discussed are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, and Apple Podcasts, and many others. We did a bit of a revision to the website, so you'll be a lot easier to find some buttons to subscribe to the show. So check that out. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, and that's where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65 at Mastodon.cloud, or I'm also on Twitter at DaveG65. And Guy Serle, I'm so glad you're back and came back to come see us, and I'm glad you're back on the show.
This is actually my first video related podcast that I've done in a long time.
I'm very honored. So glad you're back, and tell everybody where they can find you.
Well, you can get a hold of me. My email address is guy@mymac.com. You can find me over on the Twitters at MacParrot or VertShark. Mastodon would be MacParrot, and Counter Social would be MacParrot. There's my webpage that I haven't updated in such a long time, which is vertshark.com. And, of course, the mymac.com podcast that I've been doing with Gaz since 2009, the weekly dose, almost always weekly dose, of pure Mac insanity. And sometimes we actually talk about tech. Oh, who knew?
Who figured? Thanks, guys.
Is that like a new thing?
Yeah, must be.
It is a new thing.
It must be. Kelly Guimont, thank you for being here as well. Always have a pleasure having you. Where can people find you?
Mostly you can find me on Mastodon. I'm Verso at mastodon.social, and currently over there talking smack about the Eurovision Song Contest entries, because that's happening right now, and it's super fun, and I had no idea how seriously people took it until I got on Mastodon and was watching today's semifinals with people live. Wow. And they will give it to you sugar free. There are some real savage takes out there, but it's super fun. So you can find me generally goofing off on Mastodon. Sometimes you can find me over on Mac Voices Live. Sometimes you can find me here, and occasionally you can find me other places. Usually somewhere on the Incomparable Network, probably talking about a Star Wars.
Yep. Thanks again, Kelly. And last but certainly not least, Jeff Gamet, thank you always for being here. We appreciate it. Where can people find you?
Well, thanks for always letting me come back on. I genuinely have a wonderful time, and I'm still amazed that you keep letting me come back. But, Anyhow, so social media, Mastodon and Instagram. I'm Jay Gamet on both, and I'm on other social medias, but I'm just not really active anywhere else right now. And then for shows, for some reason, Chuck Joyner keeps letting me come back on Mac Voices Live on Tuesdays.
Me too.
Then on Thursdays, I am the long-standing interim host on The Big Show. Then Fridays, again on the British Tech Network, long-standing interim host for the Mac Show. Dave lets me on here on In Touch with iOS, and then Brian Chaffin and I record the Context Machine, typically on Fridays.
Awesome. Thanks again for being here. Thank you for listening. Ben, ready to get better soon. We missed you on the show, buddy. And
yes, it's not the same without you.
It's not the same without you. And hopefully you'll be back next week. And until then, thanks for listening, and we'll talk again soon.